Thank you for joining us for the Cannabis Connection Weekly webinar series. I'm your host, Jamie Cooper, CEO and founder of Cannabis Connection. And today I am joined by our marketing founding member, Brian Town of Kola Marketing and Michigan Creative. And today we are talking about building a brand for your cannabis business. Brian, how are you doing? Thanks for joining us for the first time.
Great, Jamie, thanks. It's good to be on here and good to see you again.
Good to see you. It's been since CannaCon Detroit since I've seen your face, unfortunately.
I know, but I keep telling people every day. I think just yesterday I was talking to somebody how impressed I was with CannaCon and just the amount of people that were there and just the type of businesses that were there. I think it was just really cool. So anybody that's out there that's listening, make sure that becomes one of your must-go-to events, especially if it comes back to Detroit.
Right, they're coming back to Detroit next June.
Sweet.
So they're coming back, and there's another conference coming to town in October called Cannabis Aid. And so kind of exciting, you know, like these events are packed full of information, a way for the industry to come together, and super excited about what's ahead, you know, for Michigan. Like this is just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really cool. And then I know that's kind of why we got in, you know, why we're helping and we want to be a part of this too, you know, as Michigan Creative and also Kola Marketing, just because I really see the value in the business that it's going to bring to Michigan, the opportunities that everybody's going to have. And I wanted to make sure that if we do this, I want to look, you know, I want to have people look legit because they are. Like, I don't want everybody out there in the public to think it's just somebody in their mom's basement, you know, because the people that we know, I mean, this is a legit business and we want people to see it as that. And I think branding plays a big role in that. So I think we'll talk about some of those things today and give you some good exercises that you can do on your own. And you can have Jamie and I help you do that too. But we definitely wanted to leave you with enough information to get a really good head start on it today.
For sure. Well, Brian, tell us a little about yourself and your history.
Yeah, so I am actually a former educator. I taught school on TV production and marketing for about 17 years. And then I decided about 8 years ago to quit a regular paying job and let you know how that works out and start a company. And so we started Michigan Creative in Lansing, Michigan. We work all over the state and country. So we grew that from a staff of 1 to a staff of now about 12, both here in Lansing, in Ann Arbor, and some in Detroit as well. So we've been doing that. Michigan Creative is a full service creative agency. We do everything from branding to logos, a lot of video production, a lot of web design. We've got a great staff here. And then I met Jamie. We met almost a year ago now, and we started talking business. And I saw that you were involved heavily in the cannabis industry, and I knew that was coming. And we have actually had quite a few clients that have come to us to do some logos, some print stuff, a lot of packaging. And it was interesting because they started to say, like, you guys are the only ones that picked up the phone, and you know, everybody's kind of leery. I'm like, man, look, we definitely want to help you out. And so we created, Jamie and I, and you and I created Kola Marketing, which is specifically to address the issues with marketing and branding that some people in the industry may have. And so we wanted to be that resource. And so here we are.
Yay! And, you know, I'll go into a little explanation about how the Michigan market is very unique and just kind of go into detail about that here in a bit. Most of you know who I am, Jamie Cooper, founder of Cannabis Connection. So 4 years ago, I started Cannamedia, actually it was about 3.5 years ago, I started Cannamedia Works, which was specifically focused on doing marketing for the industry. And I was taking on quite a few projects, and then I realized that I wanted to kind of help at the startup level and brought in Cannamedia Works out because my level of expertise kind of broadened as well. And then thankfully I met Brian and I was able to kind of hone the marketing part of it back in, and we created Kola Marketing. And then I have Cannabis Connection. I am also the marketing mentor for Caden Academy. Caden Academy is a 9-week marketing program for women that are looking at starting a business in the cannabis industry.
Cool.
always make it a goal to help women get into this industry. And so happy to be a part of that and provide some marketing knowledge. We talk about everything between branding and digital and video content and creating content, blogging, things like that. You know, I really think that whole digital part of it is very huge and needs to be focused on because in the cannabis industry, because there's a huge opportunity for cannabis businesses to create a bunch of resources and information to those that are looking for it. I mean, like, and it's opportunity for these businesses. So happy to be working with Brian, and excited to get into the nit and grit about building your brand.
Yeah, I think you hit it right there too. And you know, everybody seems to know who Jamie is in the industry. It's starting to spread across the state. And so it's funny because everybody I talk to, or either one of us are like, oh, you should talk to Jamie. And we're like, yeah, I was going to say that next. So I'll find somebody that doesn't know you, I promise. That's
well, and I learned, you know, like I in building my marketing company, I learned that I just needed to get paid for connecting people and networking. Like, that's my thing. I've always been like, I used to get in trouble in school. My mom and my dad used to get letters from the teacher talking about what a social butterfly I was. School for me was just all about the networking. so
you haven't changed a bit, yeah.
Right, right. So there's a lot that goes into building your brand, and we're going to talk about each of these things as we move through this. One thing I want to tell everybody before we get started is please make your brand, please make marketing a huge priority in your business. Michigan is in a very unique situation because we've had a unregulated market for the last 10 years, and there have been businesses built in the last 10 years, and they have been building their brands. However, it was kind of a, if I build it, they will come type of thing. They didn't have to spend a whole lot of money on marketing because they were like one of the only ones around. Now that is about to change. The state has already accepted over 600 applications for licensing, and that means the market eventually there's going to be a lot of saturation, and it's going to force a lot of companies to really make sure that branding is one of your number one priorities. One thing in traditional industries, you're supposed to put like 10 to 15% of your revenue costs toward branding. And last week I was approached by a guy I've been working with for the last couple of years. I'm like, okay, it's time to talk about marketing now. What's your budget? He's like, well, you know, we're looking at putting a $25,000 for it. And I was like, well, how much are you going to make in a year? And he was like, 4 million. I was like, what? And you're only going to do 25,000? You know, like, so I think, unfortunately, I think a lot of businesses are in for a wake-up call because of this. You know, they don't realize that how much priority that marketing and branding should be.
Well, I think it's good to get that in your mindset too, to really put it across when you're starting. Say, all right, this is how much we have to start our brand. This is how much we have monthly to spend on marketing. Because I think, and not only that you have to, but it seems like when you don't have those items budgeted, that's the first thing that goes. And I get it, man. I'm a small business owner. I understand it. You know, we want to make sure our bills are paid. And we want to make sure our employees are paid. So I understand that. But putting that money aside to really put effort into doing that, you're going to be much happier later on. You're going to have to do it. And I think it's going to pay for itself tenfold, hundredfold if you're able to get a really good brand. And it's not difficult. I don't think any of this is too difficult. But to get a really good brand that not only speaks to, and we'll talk about this later, but not only speaks to your customers, but I want something that your employees can get around to. I'm super passionate about that, and we'll talk about that.
Right. So we're going to talk about knowing your audience and understanding them, knowing your competitors, showcasing your stories and personality, choosing your business name, identifying your mission statement and your tagline, designing your logo and look, personal branding, evolving your brand as you go, creating loyalty, and attracting employees. I'm happy if anybody's watching, you know, that if you want a copy of this presentation, I will happily send it to you. So Brian, take it over.
Yeah, so one of the things that, and Jamie's going to talk about the brand, it's going to be very similar to what we're talking about. One of the things that I think everyone should do, and it's a lot of fun, and we've done it here, and we do it with almost all of our clients if they want us to do this. And this is typically where we're either A, a company is starting up and they don't have a brand or a logo, or B, they have one and they are not changing their name, but they have no idea who they are. And you can test this out. If you already have a company that's out there and you're not really sure who you are, start going around to your employees and start asking them, hey, where do you work? And they'll say, well, I work here. And then you'll be like, okay, well, what do you do? And what does that company do? And people will go, there's all kinds of different answers. And so one of the things I want you to really do is to ask your staff those questions and see what kind of answers you get. They're going to be all over the place. And what that indicates is that you don't know what your brand is. And your customers don't know what your brand is either, or, well, they don't, and then your employees don't either. And so you got to remember your employees are some really good salespeople. Whether they're tasked to be salespeople or not, they're the ones that are out there talking. They're the ones that are at events and things like that. So we really want to get them a statement, and what we call as an onlyness statement. And why I like the onlyness statement is because it really niches you down to what makes you the only. And that could be what makes you the only and the best. And some people ask us, well, do you use this out in public? Well, you can. I think this is a best way to describe an onlyness statement as a really cool mission statement. And so what I want you to do is what makes you the only. And we'll go through this exercise on how to do it. And you can look it up. It's not, secret information. It's out there, but I'll guide you through this process. It's pretty easy. And then the last thing is come up with a 15 to 30-second commercial. And that's a verbal commercial when you're standing up at a networking event or when you're in line to get coffee and somebody asks you what you do, where do you work, you know exactly what to say. And it can change. That 30-second commercial can change based on who you're talking to. So let's talk about the onlyness statement on the next slide to kind of guide you through how to do this. So to create an onlyness statement, you basically have six pieces, all right? The only, and I'll describe this to a couple that we made for some clients and one for Harley Davidson that we didn't make. That would be a great contract, but well, I'd get them to pay me in likes. But what makes you the only category? What do you do? How that are different than everyone else? For who is your customer? Where is where you're at in Michigan? That's where we're going to be at. Why? What does your customer need from you? And during what times? And I think this underlying trend for a lot of us is where, we could talk about over medication and all the different, there's no solutions for some of these pains and things like that. So I think you could really talk about what your industry and what you hope to solve for people. And there's all kinds of ways that you can talk about this. So on the next slide, this will give you a really good example of how this is. So what? There's 5 pieces to every only statement. What is basically what you do. What makes you unique? You have to know who your customers are. Also have to make sure that you know who your customers are. And Jamie's going to talk about finding out who your customers are. Where this is, where do you operate? In Michigan, in Grand Rapids, in Lansing, where are you going to primarily focus your business on? And it can't just be everyone and everywhere. That's not a good answer. So really try to get that down. Why do you do what you do? What are you trying to solve and how are you helping your clients? And then the last one is super powerful, is positioning. When it refers to the trends that are powering the movement. So really think about what is the time and why are you doing this now? And if somebody said, hey, why did you start this business? Don't just say, well, it's because they make money. There's a reason why we all started our businesses, and what is that? And come up with one. So, for example, on the next slide, this really describes one that we created for a wellness institute. It's basically for psychotherapy, psychologists. They have like 12 or 15 different people that are in there that deal with different issues. And so we came up with this, and how we did is we interviewed every one of their staff members, and all 12 of them had something different to say about who they were. So what we decided was their name is the Wellness Institute of Michigan, but they're the only wellness institute in Michigan that specializes in a variety of treatment options for patients who are exploring personalized health regimens in a safe and secure environment, who want help feeling empowered in their life and improve their sense of well-being in an era of unaddressed public health challenges. So what we'd want somebody to do is read this and go, oh yeah, I would like to be empowered in my life. I bet these guys can help me do that. And there are unaddressed public health challenges right now too. And so people would agree with that statement and know that you are the solution to that problem. So the next one's kind of cool. This is Harley Davidson's, and this one works really well. So what is Harley? And this, if you know Harley Davidson, you'll agree with this statement. But Harley's onlyness statement is the only motorcycle manufacturer that makes big, loud motorcycles for macho guys and macho wannabes. They should put girls in there too. Mostly in the United States, who want to join a gang of cowboys. And so what this is saying is that this is the motorcycle company. If you want a loud motorcycle and you want to be macho and you want to join a gang, but you can't because you don't want to join a gang because you're a stockbroker or whatever you end up doing, but you want to feel like you have this sense of freedom that you can join this group of people that all have Harleys and you're part of the gang, then you would get a Harley. And if you start to think about the Harley brand and how that represents itself, the statement works really well for them. So I want everyone to build this for themselves. And what this does for you is it sets the base standard for everything else moving forward. So this allows you to have this one statement for you to really tell people, and you don't have to read it verbatim. But now moving forward with your logo, your brand, your messaging, your Facebook ads, whatever you end up doing for your promotion of your business, your billboards, you're gonna take a look at this and say, does this reflect my brand?
Right, and I think it helps to like hang it up somewhere so you
Yeah.
look at it every day, and it's just a reminder of like what your purpose is.
And some people go, well, Harley's not the only motorcycle manufacturer that makes big, loud motorcycles. Well, yeah, who cares? This is what we're saying about us. This is us. Yeah, we are. We're the best. We're the only. And so I want you to become the only. What makes you the only dispensary? What makes you the only expert in the field? What is it? Why should I come to you versus the next person?
Right. Very nice. Thanks so much for that exercise. That's awesome. So yeah, you had mentioned about how important it is to know your audience. And so one thing that I always tell people is like, be your audience, like put yourself in the shoes of who you're trying to sell your product or service to and truly understand them. So what you need to do is you need to identify who that person is. It's creating a persona of the person you are trying to target with your product or service. It really helps to start interviewing your ideal customers. So if you are making a low dose edible that you're wanting to promote to soccer moms, then get out there and talk to these soccer moms and figure out what is going to attract them and what is going to really like make them open up their ears and their eyes to your product. Get to know their needs. A low dose product for a soccer mom. And I use that as an example because it's a perfect example, and that's my bird squawking. But
Yeah.
You're in your office and I have a
Okay. Well, I have my graphic designer behind you. She can wave.
right.
There she is. Say hi, Jen.
Hi, Jen.
Hi, Jen. But get to know the needs of your audience. So if you're trying to gauge get the attention of a soccer mom, like where are you going to find them? Figure out what excites them the most. And one thing is identify that low-hanging fruit, meaning who are the people that you are going to be able to sell this product to the easiest. And then better yet, get to know your competitors' customers and really understand like why they are going to see your competitors, which brings me to the next slide. Brian, do you have something to say about this one?
Yeah, and one thing, not only what excites your customers, but what is a pain? What problem? Not just physical pain, because that would make sense too. But what is the pain? What are you solving? We think of ourselves as two things at Michigan Creative and at Kola Marketing, is that we're problem solvers and we want to help you with your pain. What are your needs? And so find out what the customer's pains are. Like, what's a pain for them? Like, that's what all good product marketing does, is it makes your life better. And that's what I want you to think about, is what problems and issues are you solving for your clients? And I think Jamie makes up a really good point, is where are they? And we kind of lump everyone into this one little bucket, but talking to soccer moms is going to be way different than talking to that 65-year-old person. And they have different things on their mind, and they're running to soccer games and they're running back and they're doing this. And so really figure out who your top customers are and how you're going to speak to them. And I love talking to your competitors customers too, because you can kind of see the customers that you may or may not want. And there's some customers you don't want, some clients you don't want. And so I think those are good to identify too.
Right. I mean, it's always nice to find a competitor that is doing it wrong, and finding the pain of your competitors and really creating something that is going to fill that gap.
Yep.
The pain, like one of my favorite marketing strategies is always putting the pain out on the table. And then with the pain, you always put the heaven and the hell. You know, you start with the hell. This is what it's like to be so frustrated with this, but then here's the heaven that comes in and can help you, you know, like for instance, a patient, the hell of finding the information that they need about how they can use cannabis to treat their anxiety, but the heaven of going to your shop and being able to get those answers and not having to just try to look for all this information that is just so confusing online.
Yeah, and the personas is really fun. If you take a look, there's lots of information out there for customer personas, and that's pretty easy to find. And another really cool and fun technique is to look up business personas too, because you as a business will have your own persona. Like, who are you? Are you there's like the magician, there's all kinds of them. And so there's like 10 or 11 different personas, and pick one and find out who you are and then live that persona. And I think it's really fun to take a look at that, but you're going to find that there's different customers out there too. So really, one of the things that I really like about this customer base is that once you have a list of customers, and honestly, we need to do a better job at this, is getting current customers to do work with you again, or current customers to keep visiting you, is a heck of a lot easier than trying to get new customers. So don't forget, we sometimes forget about, oh, we got to get more customers, but are you servicing and are you really working the current customer base that you have? Because if they know, like, and trust you already, to sell to them is going to be a heck of a lot easier than it is going to be to sell to someone who doesn't know you. So don't forget about your current customers. I think that's an easy thing to forget about.
Absolutely. And we'll talk about that a little bit later under loyalty, you know, just creating those loyalty options to keep them coming back.
Should I read the PowerPoint before we do this, probably?
That's okay. No, this is on track.
I mean, I totally did.
Yeah. Next is, who are your competitors? How do you find them? Well, first of all, start by Googling them if you are trying to build an edible company. So Google Michigan marijuana edibles, Michigan cannabis edibles, you know, Michigan medicated chocolates, you know, whatever niche that you are trying to target. Shop at your competitors' stores or their websites and figure out like what their sales process looks like and how you can set yours apart from theirs. Understand why customers like them or why they even hate them. It's really important to just kind of get both sides of the story and truly understand that, you know, you can take the whys and you can create something that's similar, you know, to that. And you can take those whys of them hating them and really, like I said earlier, fill that gap that is there. And then always keep a watchful eye on them. You know, I always like to put together Google alerts, so I'm kind of on top of what other companies are doing out there, and I see what's coming on media-wise and in Google. And always have like on Facebook, my competitors, I will see first. I will go in there and adjust it to where I always see their post first, no matter what. So I know what they're doing. I mean, it's really important to keep an eye on. Just don't try to be stalky about it. You know, you don't want to be coming up as the creep competitor, you know?
Yeah, and I like that Google searching too, because not only will you find out where your customers are, but you might find opportunities in search where they aren't showing up and you could show up. And so, because we don't know, and we really have to do some digging to find out what people are searching for. You know, we don't. Sometimes they're searching for really long things, and sometimes it's totally random. So there are tools that you can use to figure out what people are searching for in your niche.
And one thing I will say is cannabis companies can't use Google AdWords to make sure that they're popping up in a Google search quickly. you have to do this organically. And the way you do it is by producing content and
That's
putting
right.
that information out there. And Google sees that and you get rewarded for it. So showcase your story and personality. What you want to do is you want to put together a position statement. So I put an example here, which is, it's kind of similar to what your onlyness statement in a way,
Yep.
but what it is we offer, what is your product or service for who, to, your value proposition, unlike the alternative, and then the key differentiators. So for instance, Cannabis Connection, we offer resources to cannabis business owners in Michigan and help market their services and connect them with startups. Unlike other B2B organizations, we are more than just a directory. We build valuable content showcasing our customers' expertise to those currently building businesses in Michigan. So just that simple, just kind of fill in the blanks, and that's a good starting point. And like I said earlier, just put this in front of your face so it kind of keeps you on track on how you're wanting to build this brand. If your brand was a person, what 3 to 5 adjectives would describe him or her? So take those adjectives and use that in your position statement. And then if you have a story, a lot of people that start cannabis businesses have some sort of story. Maybe they helped a parent or they heard a story. Use that story and showcase it. Like people, like if I go and look at the traffic on my website, one of the highest pages getting the most views is my About Us page.
Right.
People want to know about you, your company, and the person who is building that. They really want to know about you. So this is your chance to really put your story out there and make it a part of your brand.
Yeah, and that's one of the places that we find a lot of traffic too. And when to the Michigan Creative page, people are like, "Oh my gosh, I saw your staff page. It looks like you have a lot of fun," and people want to know what you're about and who works there and kind of what you stand for. So I would really spend time with that, and you're not going to know that. That's why you're going to need some of your staff to help you put that together.
Right. Agreed. Now, choosing a business name. I kept this one short because it's just, there's only so much I can tell people what to do or what not to do. But, in my 4 years of working in this now, avoid the common words at this point. I mean, cannabis, marijuana, green, these are all things that are very commonly used already and kind of saturated at this point. But secondly is when you're trying to find a bank, using these in your entity is going to make it so difficult for you to get a bank account. So what you need to do is you need to actually create an umbrella entity that kind of, is the umbrella over if you want to use cannabis or marijuana or green. You have this umbrella entity that kind of serves as all your financials are going through, and then you have the cannabis or marijuana or green as your DBA. So it's just really important. I've been there. I went to the bank trying to get an account for Canna MediaWorks, and it was really difficult. I mean, it's a big red flag immediately. They know what your business is about. They start questioning, and and just avoid the trouble and learn from people like myself who has been there. Consider using keywords that people are searching for. If you want to make something regionalized, use the regional, like West Michigan. Or Northern Michigan. There's a dispensary up north is Northern Michigan Specialty. I mean, we know that they are regional, that they're north. And then look at domain opportunities while you are brainstorming, because you might come up with like the most awesome name. Like us, we did Kola Marketing. Thank goodness colamarketing.com was available. Had it not been, we may have had to go back to the drawing board. So this is something that is good to be doing while you're in the process of trying to figure out your business name.
Yeah, and a lot of people get hung up on the .com. I'm going to say that .com is the best one that you can possibly get. I would suggest that you can there, but it's not end all to be all. I mean, if you really have a name that you like, there are lots of different TLDs now. You can get just about anything that you want, and it doesn't really matter. People don't as you guys know how you search and how you go to sites, I mean, the time where we're actually typing in the whole domain, then hitting .com is pretty much over. We're usually just clicking on it or Google searching it. So really, there are lots of everything else. There's .show, there's .company, there's all kinds of stuff, .net. So don't make that the end all to be all, but definitely take a look on what people are searching for. But again, you can have any domain you want. And the most important part is how you structure that content on the site and what kind of content you're doing, as Jamie talked about too. So yeah, it's great that we got colamarketing.com, but we really like that name. I think we might have pivoted and found another domain. But again, I wouldn't get too hung up on that, but you'd be surprised. I know a lot of people think that everything's taken, but if you come up with a creative name, you'd be surprised what's out there.
Right. Absolutely. And there's some good ones. There's a lot of really great domains available relating to the cannabis industry.
Yeah, and I use the one I use is, and I don't know how true this is, but some people say that on GoDaddy, like if you type in searches for names that you want, like GoDaddy watches, and they like steal them and buy them. I don't know if that's true or not. So, but we've had it happen. It could have been just circumstance. So I use the one I really like, and they have lots of different options. I really like Name. So it's just name.com. And I really like using that one because they have lots of products and services that you can do, and they're really affordable. Forewarning though, I just want to let everybody know that what's going to happen is if you don't make your domain private, you're going to get a lot of spam. So what I would suggest is pay the extra $3 or $4 to do annually. So your whole domain should cost between $12 and $3 for privacy, so $15 to $16 a year. So you're going to get sometimes you're going to get these letters in the mail, and you're going to get people saying, "Hey, we can renew your domain for $59." Don't do it.
Yeah.
Stick with your domain on name.com or GoDaddy, one of the big ones, and you'll be totally safe. But domains should cost $12-ish, and then the privacy is around $3 to $5. So definitely do the privacy.
Right. I think it's worth it too. I would not want all the emails and phone calls.
Mm-hmm.
Identify your mission and tagline. Put together your mission statement. Again, very similar to the onlyness statement. You know, what do I do and what do I want to sell? How do I do it and what problem is it solving? Whom do I do it for? And what value am I bringing to the table, and what sets me apart from others? And, you know, these are all big, big points that need to be, you know, really drilled in about, you know, when you're putting together your branding, and just continue to look at it. And then create a tagline. You know, you want to keep it short and precise and 3 to 5 words. You know, like for instance, Cannabis Connection is building businesses and relationships in the cannabis industry. It's a little old, you know, longer than 5 words, but you know, it works. And immediately you know exactly what my business is about.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is practice it. And what you want to do is practice it with people that don't know your business, and you should be able to bump into a stranger and tell them what you do pretty quickly.
Right. That's your 5-second elevator speech.
Yeah, real quick. Yeah, that's 60 seconds or 30 seconds is long. Like if you guys can all say, look, man, we're going to commit to being able to say in 15 seconds concisely what I do, that's really, really good.
Right. Now we're going to talk about designing your logo and your look. What you want to do is you want to make it unique and identifiable, you know, something that as soon as people see it, they know. You know, Coca-Cola is like the company that you think about. It's you know what it is. It's identifiable. Like if you go and look at their Facebook page, their website, everything is consistent with it. And it's just one of those brands that you know immediately when you see that red circle. How do you want your customer to feel when they see your brand? Like it's really important that when you're thinking about your logo and your look, you're thinking about how you want them to feel with it. You know, if you want them to feel like emotional, and then you want to use some soft looks and tones and textures, and then create multiple versions of your logo. You know, you want something that's going to be the full color, but you also want to have something that is black or something that is white, because I mean, if you go get one logo designed, I mean, eventually you're going to be calling that designer back and be like, can you make me an all white logo so we can put it on a black background? Another thing is I want you to consider is that logo and then the logo with the tagline underneath it. And you know, that you have both options. If you want the tagline there, you have it. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, make sure too that I know in the past we've heard of other design companies too, make sure that they're willing to give you the original design files too, because typically what we find happens is if somebody has done that and they don't have the original design files, making a change is difficult and it's going to be costly. So make sure that you're able to get all the original design files too after your logo is created.
Right. And Brian is the guy. He is going to be the guy for logos and branding, and don't forget your favicon, which is the like little circle, or it's the symbol that you see in the subject of the browser. Like I kind of need to bring a screenshot really quick so I can show what I'm talking about. Here. So Cannabis Connection. So up here in the very top left corner, you can't even see it. Let's do Kola. Cola's. So it says Kola Marketing, and then the circle K that's up there it is. So what you want to do is, you can see my screen, can't you?
Yep.
Okay. So what you want to do is have that favicon.
Actually, no. I was looking at my screen. I can't see your screen.
Oh, no. Here it comes. Share screen.
There you go. Yep. So right there in the very top left.
Yeah,
yep.
Very top left corner with the circle K. So it's just, it's another file that you're going to need. And you're going to use it more than once. I mean, I actually use my favicon for my Facebook page. Oops. Let's see here for Cannabiz. Okay. By the way, when you search Facebook, it's really hard to find pages now when it has anything to do with cannabis or...
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Okay, so there it is. So I have it as my profile picture, my favicon, and because it's a square, that's what it requires. So make sure that you keep that in mind, when you are getting a logo built. And we'll go back to the slideshow for the current slide. Okay. And then save your time and hire a professional to create your logo. If you decide to use Fiverr, just remember, because you can get a logo built for very low price, but just remember, a lot of times these services, you get what you pay for, and you end up spending so much time, like 45 logos later, you might get there. And just save your time and spend a little bit of money and get something professionally created and get these different options of logos done in a package at the very get-go.
Yeah, and one of the things about that too, when you're taking a look at your logo, is sometimes you want to make sure that your logo, once you're thinking about it, don't make it super complicated, because you want to remember that you've got to get this thing printed on shirts, you've got to get it embroidered, you've got to get it on cards and things. So just keep that in mind. I don't think it's an end-all, because we've seen crazy logos, but right now, keep it simple.
Absolutely. Keep it simple, stupid, right?
There you go. Yep.
And then branding guides are very, very important. Branding guide is going to have your colors in a guide in one place, the fonts that are used for it. Again, that way you can stay consistent with your look.
Yeah, I love branding guides. That's one of the things that we ask clients if we can see all the time. They don't have them. And again, I've seen branding guides that are 150 pages long, and I've seen some that are one. I like that nice mix between a couple pages. And really all a branding guide is, you guys, is simply says, here's your logos in different ways. Here's how your logo can look here. Here's how we want you to use your logo here. And here's how you're allowed to use it here. Here's the font, here's the colors, the CMYK, all those different things, so that in theory, what you could do is when a printer needs your stuff, you could just say, oh, here's my branding guide, and they will love you. They'll be like, oh my gosh, this is great. So keep that not only on paper, keep it in the digital file as well, and then have your fonts there and have your colors there, and just have everything in one place. Because we get stuff from clients all the time, and it's a JPEG, and it's like, Jen can't do anything with it. So that branding guide, to me, even if it's a couple pages, that's what we would create for you with your logo. It's nice to have that, just because moving forward, you have no question on how you're supposed to use your logo.
Right. And, like this week, I got a contract. I'm becoming a brand ambassador for a CBD company.
Cool.
And when they sent me all the information, their brand ambassador agreement and their little pitch deck about the products, but then they also sent their branding guide. And I was like so thankful for it because that allows me to keep like any of that branding consistent, use those colors and I know what color it's going to be. And I'm not having to play a guessing game when I'm creating these, marketing things for them.
Yep. Perfect.
So, and then one thing I wanted to add is you don't want to forget about personal branding. Again, like I said, the About Us page on your website could be a very frequent page. And sometimes personal branding is going to be really huge, especially when you're attaching your story to your brand and your company. So always be your authentic self. And really just you want to put your brand keep your personal brand in a very positive spotlight. I did meet with the owner of a cannabis company just a couple of weeks ago, and he was like, it was just crazy because he does negative. He thinks that negative publicity is a good thing. He was like, good or bad, talk about my brand because of it. And some people do that, but just know that if you believe that and you decide to do that, that could turn around and bite you in the butt. And but I guess Kim Kardashian or there are certain celebrities that I do believe that they use that strategy, but really understand that could go the wrong way sometimes and cause a lot of unnecessary stress. Become a teacher. Always put out information. I mean, this is how you are going to build your company, is putting information out there that people are looking for. Always remain a student, especially in this industry, because this industry is going to be evolving and changing for the next 10 years. There is going to be a lot to this. What you're going to see happen in Michigan is just going to blow your mind. Like the way it was 4 years ago, I have seen it change. And the way it's going to be 4 years from now is going to be completely different. And so we're always learning, and it's always important that you are always learning, and use your learning lessons to teach others. Take on speaking engagements, become the thought leader of the industry. If you are wanting to be the best extractor out there, then start teaching your expertise. I understand that there are a lot of different things in this industry that people want to hold tight, like processes and things like that. But you can do this without giving a whole lot of information.
Yeah, and I really like speaking at events and also becoming that expert. I can't tell you how many times, sometimes it takes a while. Like we just got a big contract that I spoke at an event almost a year ago, and they remembered from that speech, and it was about video. It wasn't even about what we ended up doing with them. Any opportunities you guys have to get in front of people and students to tell your story and tell what you're doing, I think is a huge way for you to start connecting, because then people see you as the expert and they want to go to the expert.
Right. Absolutely. And then write articles, speak at these speaking engagements, do blogs. Last week, I did a guest column for the Grand Rapids Business Journal. I mean, these are, anyone could do this, do it. I mean, and if you're not a great writer, there are a lot of people that you can hire that are, that are willing to do ghostwriting and interview it and interview you and put it into words. And in fact, we know the people that can do that for you. So, and then get in the media, really make PR an effort. Again, media is very trusted, and we need to be, as business owners, we need to be making an attempt to get into the mainstream media.
Yep.
Because, again, talking about how this industry has changed in 4 years. 4 years ago, the media, everything that we saw in the media about cannabis was negative. It was talking about houses blown up or raids at dispensaries, things like that. Now, when you turn on the TV and then there's a cannabis story, it's mostly positive. I'd say it's probably 80-90% positive, 10-20% negative. So a lot has really changed. And so be a part of that positivity in the mainstream media.
Yeah, I love it.
And then evolve your brand as you grow. You know, you start your brand and it's going to evolve with you as your business grows, and you're going to be able to just really build upon your brand. Again, keep your brand and your look consistent. Avoid talking about things that don't relate to your brand. You know, if you don't want to be using your social media to post random things about cannabis if it's not going to be a resource for your audience. You know, just make sure that you think about every time you're posting, how is my audience going to relate to this? And then you really use that opportunity to relate with your audience when you're posting about an article or a news story. Always ask yourself, does this relate with my message? And then marketing always needs to be a priority in your business. Do not let it drop to the back burner, because if your competitors, there are a lot of companies that are coming into this with big marketing budgets, and you can compete against that if you make marketing a priority. And I can't emphasize that enough. And then eventually the competition will be fierce. So you need to be fierce too.
Yep, and get on board and get started with it now too. And I just really think that there's still ways to separate yourself, and we can look like big companies with a smaller budget. And if we really focus on our brand and we focus on our messaging and also telling the story through video and writing articles, I still think there's opportunities there, and you don't have to spend. I want you to put away some money and do this, but you don't have to spend the same amount of money that some of the big corporations do. And so get ahead of the game and get going soon.
Right. And then one of the companies I wanted to highlight today is Candescent. Really, like, when you get a moment, look at their Facebook page, look at their Instagram page. This company is like, they are doing a killer job at marketing. Like on Instagram, you can see these are professional photos. Yeah. So what you need to do is you need to hire a photographer and have a photographer come in once, twice a month and just shoot a ton of content for your social media. Like, it will really, I mean, it's a small investment that could really go a very, very long way. They do an incredible job at packaging. You know, I have different opinions about packaging sometimes, you know, because especially with products that people are wanting to actually see the product, smell it, things like that, you know, like flour. But like, their packaging is top notch, and they have all these pictures of it. I mean, I want to go out and buy it right now just by seeing this picture. I'm like, do you know what one of these buttons is?
Yeah.
Right. So check them out, because I think they are one of the companies in this industry that are doing it perfectly. And again, Brian was talking about earlier about getting your customers to come back. So you want to create loyalty. Always create a memorable experience for them. One time I worked for a business coach, and it was like between my television career and ski resort marketing. And I worked for a business coach, and it was working for this guy was when I knew eventually that I was going to be a business owner. But one thing that it was required as part of his staff is every time we answered the phone, it was like, hi, thank you for calling Action Coach Business Coaching. My name is Jamie. How may I improve your day? Just that one little thing, like, really set them apart. Like, as soon as like they would call, they'd be like, oh, you just did improve my day. Thank you. You know, so that made that phone call memorable right off the bat, and they'll always remember that. So like, maybe if you have a dispensary, have like something that your customers remember every time they walk in and they're excited to hear it. I mean, look at what Chick-fil-A does. Like, they're kind of, you know, they are trained very well, and that experience when you go through a Chick-fil-A drive-through is memorable. Create a customer appreciation program. You want to have a loyalty program. Like, if they spend a certain amount of dollars, they get credits or they get a punch on a punch card. Handwritten thank you cards always do really good. I know. I love when I get a handwritten thank you card. And it really makes people go, oh, wow, they really took
an extra time. Yeah.
It's incredible.
And you can handwrite the address on the front too. That's key to make sure people know that it's coming from you.
Right. My problem is when you get a handwritten note, there might be some whiteout every.
Well, mine is I write like a third grade boy. That's my problem.
Yeah.
Well, how's this guy running a company right now? He barely can make a legible L. It's true. I'm serious.
And that's when you get someone to do it for you. And
Yeah, right.
purchase milestones, meaning you spend a certain amount of money and then you get some sort of reward. And then giveaways, like just random giveaways when they come in, and then VIP treatment. Maybe you have some sort of like customer VIP day, and when they come in on a certain day, they get some sort of special treatment that day. And then always be a resource for education. As we already nailed down in this presentation, is the more information you put out there, the more trust you're going to develop, and the more people are going to want to come in and check out your product and see what you're offering. And then host appreciation events, and then celebrate holidays. Celebrate your customers' birthdays or anniversaries with some sort of discount. These are things that will help you create that loyalty and keep people coming back. And Brian, I will let you take on this slide because you are the king at this.
Yeah, and I really I love this. We do a lot of this work for manufacturers across the state right now too. And one of the things that I can tell you that really opens manufacturers' eyes is what I say to them. I'm like, hey, what are you guys doing to market and advertise your products? And they go, well, what we're doing is we're doing catalogs, and we're doing mailings, and we're doing, AdWords, and social media and website and sales team and all this stuff to get their products in front of people. And then I ask them, what are they doing to advertise for their talent? And they're like, we're putting an ad in the classified. I'm like, you guys, that's not how it works anymore. And so I think if we can spend as much time and effort in advertising what jobs we have as we do in to market our products, I think you're going to be better served. And think about where your audience is. Where are the people that you want to have work for you? Are they young? Are they if they are younger, they probably don't know that a radio station or a TV channel exists today. So don't advertise there. They're on Snapchat. They're on Instagram. And so really talk about, or really try to get to where they are. And then secondly, you need to tell them today what it's like to work for you, okay? Everybody still wants good money. People will tell you that most people just want a good culture. They don't care about money. That's not true. Everybody wants to get paid well for what they do, and they want to know that they have a good culture where they're going to work, and that they're going to be appreciated, and they're going to be listened to. And so really tell them about what type of company and what type of person they're going to be working for or with. And that's what we want to know. I mean, I don't want to go and work in a place that I really want to do this kind of work, but I don't want to work with the people that work there. And so talk about what you have. And I'm assuming that you have a great staff, and talk about what it's like to work there. And then where can I go? I mean, am I going to be sitting in the same job year after year? What are my options afterwards? And so really have a page that's dedicated to that. And then what I really like about this is you can turn this around, and once you have those staff in place, tell their story and have them tell your story. And say, look, I like working here, and this is what I do, and this is why I'm looking forward to this, because not only is that good for your current and employees that you want to hire, but it's also really good for your customer base too, like we talked about earlier. So think of your marketing today, because right now the way the economy is and the way unemployment is so low, we've got to start marketing and advertising our open jobs much like we do our products. And we have to go after it, especially with the millennials right now too, is we have to just go after them in where they are located. And they're not, and that's primarily who is on our staff right now, except for me and a couple other older people. We have a lot of millennials, and they're great, man. I love them. And you can give them leadership roles, and they want it. They're hungry for leadership, and they want to make mistakes and decisions. And so talk about that and find out what type of employee that you want, and then really do the same thing that you would do for your products.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. You'll get a lot more value doing it that way. So, well, that's the end of our presentation.
Look at that. Pretty good. 4 minutes to spare. Nice job, dude.
I know, right? Well, that's why I always say I never want to go over an hour. So if anyone has any questions, there is our contact information right there. You can, there's their email addresses and our phone numbers, and we would be happy to talk to you about your marketing needs and building a brand for your cannabis business. I will have Brian back here in a couple of months to talk about another topic. I can't remember what our next topic is.
Probably video or something. I don't know. Who knows?
I think it might be video, which I'm very excited to get into that. because that is your expertise. And I just feel like this industry, there are so many just incredible stories that we should be telling about how this is like, this plant is changing people's lives for the good.
Yep, I think we can tell those stories. And I think if we can tell those stories, I think we'll start to change the mindset if we even need to. But it's coming, so let's get ready for it.
It is coming. And I want to give a shout out really quick to my founding members, always. There we go. So thanks to our founding partners, we have THC123, who specializes in payroll and staff solutions, Bricks and Mortar, who does insurance, Cannabiz, my company is kind of dissolving, but I do take on some municipality work, meaning I go into municipalities and I help talk them into what goes into allowing these businesses in their communities. Kola Marketing, Brian is the guru with marketing, and the National Cannabis Security Services for your security needs. We have Vista Green Consulting Group. They specialize in licensing and operations after licensing. LC Solutions Michigan, who is Lauren, or excuse me. We have a CPA. That's our CPA firm that Karina is the name of the owner. And, you know, she specializes in taxes and putting together attestation letters for the licensing process. And then Ingrid Marketing, who they specialize in content. So they are the company that I recommend for putting together, writing your bios or writing press releases for your company when you're launching. And then ICS Consulting Services, which is Ginny. She specializes in compliance, and she's located in Colorado, has been working in the industry for several years now, was involved in the medical program in Colorado, and then they went recreational, and so she is the compliance guru. If you haven't done so already, make sure that you sign up for a Cannabis Connection account. You can access all of our webinars on our page by doing so. As soon as you register as a free cannabis business professional, you will get access to the Cannabiz Learning Academy, and then you will be able to access all of the past webinars that we have done. You'll also be added to our email list and be informed on all of our networking events coming up and any other educational webinars that we have coming up. We are kicking off networking events across the state over the next few months. This past week, we launched our events in Detroit and Ann Arbor. And then this month, Lansing and Grand Rapids. A lot going on. You know, Grand Rapids just a couple of weeks ago opted into, actually a week ago, opted into allowing cannabis businesses. So a lot going on all across our state right now. Super exciting things. I mean, this is just the beginning. So as always, join us every week, every Tuesday at 2 o'clock right here for the Cannabis Connection webinar series. Brian Town, Kola Marketing, Michigan Creative, thank you so much for being here. And
thanks, Jamie. It's good to see you. We'll see you soon, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure. And thank you. And we will see you guys next week. Have a wonderful day.